Nolan Wells audio distress call. Is it real? Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
Everyone in the background is saying, is he dead? Nolan, wake the up.
Claiming they're sinking and calling for help. And yet in the background, are we really hearing all of this other activity?
Nobody has ever, none of the kids on this boat have ever admitted that anybody said that they thought Nolan was dead.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right. Well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir.
I don't know the phone number. It's either. I think it's. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag on
unless you
here.
have a membership number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at...
You are hearing the audio distress call from the boat. That is the boat on which Nolan Wells went to Horn Island. Now, there have been a lot of different accounts about whether he was on the boat when he came back from Horn Island, when he was supposed to come back from Horn Island. He never came back from Horn Island. And you can clearly hear on that version, which we obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Research. They released it. It's not something off TikTok or Insta. And that's what you hear. Let me hear 184 one more time, please.
Detail assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes. How far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right. So I want to be clear with this one thing, because I know you mentioned before. Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Wells' friends told investigators that when they left the island, he had chosen to stay behind with a young woman he'd met there. One friend, when asked about that account directly, said it didn't square with the Nolan he knew, that he'd never known him to separate from the group like that. That contradiction has been sitting in this case from day one, but new reporting adds something sharper.
Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good. So you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah. And
then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock, and Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie. Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And like, no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
how many people heard that?
At least 5 I mean, everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do, I mean, a lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else. So, I mean, it's not like it's an uncommon thing, but it's not like we just left him there, or my friends just left him there. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had text somebody that she heard people yelling
correct
for Nolan to get on it. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, this is the last time I saw him, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Dispatch audio confirms a call came in reporting the boat was taking on water and starting to sink. But GPS data pulled from the boat afterward shows it didn't actually leave the island until around 4:30 in the afternoon, roughly 30 minutes after that emergency call went out. Investigators have said plainly that if the boy's story doesn't match what the GPS shows, they have a problem. About 60 witnesses have now been interviewed as authorities try to reconstruct what actually happened on that island.
So what's your intent in calling the Coast Guard, right? Because right now, Nolan could be with a chick. He could be with somebody else.
Right.
He could have gone back with somebody else. What made you concerned enough that you felt like you couldn't weigh it out anymore? You had to call the Coast Guard.
Well, I mean, like I said, my friends and I have been on the water our whole life. Stuff happens. People die all the time. I know people that have died out there. And, it's a fun place to be, but it's also a very, very dangerous place to be if you're not handling it right. And Nolan, so I hadn't heard from him. And obviously, I'm thinking I'd way rather be safe than sorry. I mean, I would rather call the Coast Guard 100 times and lose my mind over it and my buddy be okay than not, and me not know where he is and him not be okay. And so I called the Coast Guard and I talked to them on the phone for like 20 minutes, gave him a description, what Nolan was wearing, the last place we were at, the last time I saw him, who were we with, what boat we were on, the conditions of the water, just a summary. And I called Miss Christine back after and I talked to her and I said, I got in contact with the Coast Guard. I'm not sure who she called or, what she did, but I think she said she was going to make a couple phone calls to either DMR or Jackson County Sheriff's Office. And I was thinking worst case scenario. I would way rather be safe than sorry about this,
The Officer Tatum on YouTube, he has interviewed Nolan's friends. Now, we're about to bring on 2 experts, each one taking a different viewpoint on that call. But, Officer Tatum, thank you for being with us tonight. What do you make of that audio, Officer?
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for having me on. If you put the audio within context, it is an impossibility unless these people are prophesying that somehow they're saying Nolan's name or projecting that Nolan is somehow injured, hurt, or killed, because we have witnesses that have come out When I interviewed Warren, a lot of those kids that I talked to already alluded to this way before the audio came out, that they were gone. And people had already saw Nolan after they had left. The young lady, Katie, that he was hanging out with, I saw a text message from her alluding to the fact that she never saw him get on that boat at all. We have video of the boat that we shared on our social media page, and it shows all the occupants on the boat, and Nolan was not there. And so if a person thinks that they've heard something on the audio, they have to compare it with context. Maybe they said, "Is it dead?" talking about items that could potentially have died or damaged on the boat, given the fact that they were sinking. So I think people need to put this in context and reevaluate what they're listening to on the video, because if you are going to make a staunch stance in the wrong direction, in my opinion, by saying they're obviously talking about Nolan, it is incredibly impossible. One more thing real quick, that when you look at where they were at when they made the phone call and their GPS coordinates, it literally put them on the island. And we know, and not on the physical island, but really close proximity to the island. And we know, because we have another video of Nolan being out there and also all the other boats surrounding him, that this would have had to happen very near to hundreds of people in hundreds of different boats. So somebody would have seen something if there was a dramatic commotion like this occurring on that boat.
I hear what you're saying, Officer Brandon Tatum.
Sources with knowledge of the investigation say there's now evidence, including at least 2 witnesses, placing Wells on Horn Island after his friend's boat had already left. If that holds up, it directly undercuts the version of events his friends gave to police in those first critical hours. And the boat itself doesn't line up either. Meanwhile, a Marine Patrol email surfaced describing Wells's alcohol intake that day as heavy, adding one more variable investigators will have to account for once toxicology results are in.
Wait a minute. The state of Mississippi is trying to reshape the narrative on the Nolan Wells death? Really? So it has been reported that Nolan Wells, witnesses have come forward to say that Nolan Wells was drinking heavily during the day of the 4th of July. As to say, that's why he drowned. Because remember, authorities have already come out and said, even before they did the autopsy, that Nolan Wells drowned. And his mother, Christine Wansley, said that was not good enough for her. That she needed a medical explanation as to what led up to those events of him. If they say he drowned, right? Now let me ask y'all something. Was Nolan Wells the only one on Horn Island with his group of friends that was drinking? Let's go back through the evidence. Now, as you can see, the gentleman right next to Nolan Wells has beer dripping all down his chest. The other guy had a beer can in his hand. Now, these children are all under the age of 21. None of them can legally purchase alcohol except for Bart. Wait a minute. Bart, were you the one who bought the alcohol for the underage kids that day on the boat on Horn Island? Was it you? Oh, this plot is just really thickening. Not to mention, if Nolan was drinking, if the toxicology come back and he did have alcohol, that doesn't negate the fact that something nefarious happened on that island. Just because Bart was drinking is going to lead to all these things that we see plain as day in our face. We're just going to bypass this, right? We also are going to forget the fact that allegedly they deleted everything off of their social media accounts. We're gonna not think about, oh, Nolan was drinking, so now they gotta, if Nolan was drinking, why everybody got a lawyer up? Why everybody got an attorney? And if Nolan was heavily drinking on the 4th of July, we just gonna forget the fact that the telephone calls for the tip line was routed to Ashley Cole, Judge Ashley Cole's office, instead of going to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department? Really? Yeah, all these things cannot be coincidental. We're going to negate the fact that now Governor Tate Reeves is coming out trying to assault Ben Crump's character, call him a bold-faced lie. Really? We're just going to negate the fact that the sheriff's department, the day of, right when they pulled Nolan Wells' body out of the water, stated it was a drowning. Are you serious? I just want to know this. With those children who were drinking, nobody is drawing attention to that. And even if Nolan was drunk on the 4th of July, that does not give anybody a pass to do anything harmful to him or take his life because he was drunk, and it does not fall on him. That does not make him responsible for leaving here.
From the beginning, investigators leaned toward an accidental drowning. His parents never accepted that, and the gap between those two positions has only widened. Here's what's new. A private forensic pathologist hired by the Wells family, Dr. Roger Mitchell, finished his independent autopsy and released his conclusion. Cause and manner of death, undetermined. Not drowning, not homicide. Undetermined, because according to the family's attorney, Mitchell's exam turned up something nobody expected. An area of discoloration on the back of Wells's head, deep enough to sit beneath the skin, that no one has explained. And critically, the body that arrived for the second autopsy didn't include his lungs or his throat. Those are two of the most important pieces of tissue you'd want if you were trying to confirm or rule out drowning. Without them, an independent pathologist can't tell you much of anything with confidence.
Dr. Judy Melanek, I'm a board-certified forensic pathologist, and I just watched the Nolan Wells press conference, and I wanted to share some context for everyone. Being able to definitively state the cause of death after a body has not been found for several days and has been subsequently autopsied twice with signs of decomposition is incredibly unlikely. Drowning is what's called a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that when you've got a fresh body, you want to be able to look at the body and see if there's any other causes of death for that body that is found in water that exclude the death being exclusively a drowning. So, for example, if someone is shot and then thrown in the water, you'll have that gunshot and they'll be bleeding and the gunshot will be the cause of death, and the thrown in the water is not the cause of death. It's not even on the death certificate. If a person is strangled and they die from strangulation and then their dead body is thrown in the water, their body will take on water, but the cause of death is going to be strangulation, not drowning. Also for any kind of traumatic injuries. Now we got to talk about natural death for a second. If someone has a heart attack while they are swimming, and because they're having the heart attack as they're exercising in the water and they take on water and they drown, the cause of death is actually drowning, and the heart attack is listed on the death certificate under other significant conditions contributing to death. So even though the heart attack might have killed them on dry land, it might not have. Most certainly they wouldn't on dry land. So we defer to the hostile environment, which is the water, to call it a drowning. Now, identifying natural disease and identifying trauma is relatively easy in a fresh body. It can be very difficult in a decomposed body. His body was found here, and this second autopsy done by Dr. Roger Mitchell wasn't until 4 days later. So we're dealing with quite a bit of decomposition, even if the body was refrigerated during that time.
Now, their lawyers are using subpoenas to try to get some answers. They're asking multiple tech companies to preserve relevant social media and phone records. It's still unclear how Wells's body ended up on the shoreline of a coastal island 2 days after a boating trip with friends. His cause of death is undetermined, according to an independent autopsy. The state autopsy reportedly is complete, but the results are not yet public.
We are begging, if anyone knows anything, his friends, strangers, please call the hotline, because we will not be able to rest until we get answers.